Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Friday, February the 5th, 2021. I'm David Menzies, and my lovely co-host on location, a remote broadcast, no doubt. That's the kind of trained broadcast professionals we have here at Rebel, folks. We can go out in the field to where, the Whistle Stop Cafe is in Alberta, Mirror, Alberta, where I think it's minus 3,000 degrees centigrade. And Sheila, the she-devil Gunn Reid, is reporting from this delightful restaurant where bacon, eggs, and freedom are on the menu. Hey, Sheila, how's it going out there?
Oh, it's cold, and I'm out here in my Jeep. It is the Jeep tells me minus 26, and I'm out in my Jeep because the restaurant is too full. I cannot work in there. I have to sit beside the dog food across from the freezer in the convenience store because the restaurant is always packed from day till night. There are people driving in atrocious weather, in the cold, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours just to come here and eat, just to prove a point.
Well, you look like the snow queen of Narnia out there, and surely you're not idling your Jeep. I mean, I wouldn't want to give Greta Thunberg or Climate Barbie any conniptions over the weekend.
Oh, she's idling. I had to turn the Jeep down so that I could go on Skype because it does sound like I'm trying to cremate a body in here. It's just the fans and heat because it is ungodly cold.
Wow. Well, you know what? It might be cold, but you're an Alberta girl, Sheila. You must be used to this by now. And the very fact that you are in Mirror, it's a very important story. It is the Albertan version of Adam Skelly. Things didn't end well for Adam Skelly here in Hogtown. Mayor Tory quite literally sent in all the king's horses and all the king's men, led Adam Skelly out to a police cruiser in handcuffs, put him in jail for one day, suspended all kinds of rights for him when he was eventually released. That hasn't happened to the restaurateur in charge of the Whistle Stop, has it, Sheila?
Well, they're trying, but Chris Scott, the owner of the Whistle Stop, he is currently staring down the government, and they're in a blinking contest, and Chris is winning so far. So it started over 2 weeks ago. Chris Scott opened his restaurant here in Mirror, and Mirror is a town of 500 people, 2 hours southeast of Edmonton. It's not the bustling big city here. And so everybody knows Chris. Everybody knows his restaurant. Everybody likes Chris. So far, so good anyway. I mean, unless you work for the government. But he opened his restaurant 2 weeks ago, and he has been under constant surveillance from the RCMP, and he has been under constant surveillance from Alberta Health Services. He's received several closure notices. He just says, stick them on the wall beside the other one. I'm not closing. He's received a notice to appear in April in Stettler Provincial Court, so about an hour, 45 minutes away from here, for breaching the public health order. He still refuses to close. So then on Monday, Alberta Health Services got an emergency. They served him with an emergency notice to appear for an emergency injunction hearing on Wednesday so that they could get a court order, so a judge to sign a court order for him to close. And the reason Alberta Health Services did that is because if Chris refuses to close, then he can be found in contempt of the judge's court order, and then he can be arrested and held, I guess, indefinitely in contempt of court. And yet still, he refuses to close. The RCMP were by yesterday. They said collecting evidence on behalf of Alberta Health Services. They've solved all the property crime out here. Everything, it's perfectly safe here. And now the big crime is burgers. But that's what it's been like here. And he has inspired dozens of other restaurants all across the province to do the same. They've been opening up. And because of that, the government was forced to announce an official relaunch date for restaurants that is Monday. So I think if Chris can sort of make it through today, he might be okay, because as you know, Alberta Health Services is a government bureaucracy. And so they usually only work until 4 or 5 today. And he has not been reinspected yet. And, you know, this COVID, it's so deadly that it can only be fought and inspected on bankers' hours that the government works. And then it's fine on the weekend. Alberta Health Services doesn't have to fly into action then.
Wow. You know, Sheila, 2 things from what you said about this case, and this is what I find fascinating. One is that, as you said, it's a staring down contest between Chris Scott and the government. That's like a mouse, Chris Scott in the role of the mouse staring down an elephant, okay? And he's getting his way because, look, clearly by the book, he's guilty. So what's happening behind the scenes? I think there's some political chatter in terms of, we don't want to look like the heavies. We don't want to look like the bad guys when people are literally losing their businesses through economic hardship. We're going to have someone lose their business through government hardship. That's how I look at it. And the fact that in 72 hours, restaurants are going to be able to open up anyways. And the second thing, you mentioned that the customers of the restaurant truly appreciate it unless they're part of the government. But there's another restaurant, I believe it was Bonnyville, Alberta, and what I found both fascinating and incredibly significant about that reopening is the mayor of Bonnyville went there. Yeah. I think that's one of the few cases, maybe one of 2 I can think of, where an elected official said, I am siding with the little guy, the COVID Karens be damned. And so I'm just wondering, I don't know who rules the roost in the mirror territory, but has Chris had any kind of support from an actual bona fide elected official or even somebody that works in the bureaucracy?
Sounds like he's standing alone here. Yeah, that was a Lakeland Grill in Bonnyville. The reeve of the municipality, plus the mayor of Lac La Biche, all came to dine, I suppose, illegally and show their support for the restaurant owner there who opened in defiance of the law. But Chris, he's kind of on his own here. This is UCP country. I mean, as is all of rural Alberta, but, you know, the UCP MLA hasn't been out here. However, former UCP MLA Rick Strankman, he's one of the Farmers for Justice. He came by to show support for Chris and sort of give him a little pep talk. Rick Strankman was one of the farmers who served time in jail for the crime of selling their own wheat. He took, I think it was a bushel of grain across the border and gave it to a 4-H club in Montana, which was a jailable offense at the time, as Rick found. And he did that to prove the injustice of how Western farmers were under the thumb of the wheat board when Eastern farmers didn't have to get that export license. And Rick was taken away in handcuffs, as were many farmers, in front of their crying families. And at the time, Premier Ralph Klein spoke out about the injustice of jailing people for trying to earn a living, and how far the Conservatives in this province have come from those days. Yeah,
I remember that story well. And so there was liberation for the wheat farmers. Unfortunately, not liberation for the commodities such as dairy, eggs, turkey, and what's the other one? Chicken, which is still under the auspices of supply management. You have to buy quota like you're in some kind of Stalinist regime. And let's not forget, who was the one that spoke out against the supply management racket? Well, of course, it was Maxime Bernier. And the person who supported this shakedown was Andrew Scheer, who actually gulped down a liter of milk in one of the most embarrassing photo ops I've ever seen. So that kind of tells you the players out there in terms of the Conservative Party and Conservatives in the here and now, Sheila? But getting back to the whistle stop, I think, based on your reports, if I'm the government, the way I'm playing this, it's kind of like a football analogy with, 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. It's all about clock management. And the way for the government to get out of this with saving a modicum of grace is, well, we didn't charge the whistle stop, but don't think we weren't going to charge them. We had put out the warnings, and what happened is that, well, the weekend came along. We don't work on weekends, as you said. And by the time Monday came along, it was a moot point. The restaurants are open. So, yeah, he got away with it. But had we had one more day, business day, we would have thrown the book at the guy. Do you think this is how they're going to play it out? So, in other words, we're not going to charge him, but the government's going to maintain that he got lucky in terms of clock management, if you will.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that the government is ragging the puck here. They didn't have to do this to start with. They could have just left him alone to operate in a gray area until the restaurants were allowed to reopen. But here's the thing. We are hearing all the time now about variants and how things are going to have to close down again if these variants these variants of COVID. And so they need to make sure that the rest of the restaurants see what they are willing to do to Chris here, even go as far as hold him as a political prisoner if they have to slow things down because of the variants. Because Chris would literally be Canada's only political prisoner if they came along today and picked him up on a bench warrant out of Red Deer and took him to jail for the weekend.
Can you believe you just said what you just said, Sheila? Here's a guy behind a grill serving customers who are appreciative of the service. And hey, if you think he's a super spreader, if you think he's a modern day Typhoid Mary, just don't go to his restaurant. And this is what qualifies as a political prisoner. It's kind of astonishing. Contrast that with another Albertan, I think he's in the Edmonton area, Omar Cotter, who apparently doesn't even abide by the no-fly list. He can hop on an Air Canada plane, no problem, no fuss, no muss. And if you question him impolitely, as our boss Ezra Levent tried to do on the East Coast many moons ago, you're going to get threatened with arrest by the cops. Is the world mad, Sheila? It just gets more and more crazy as this Wuhan virus pandemic continues.
This Wuhan virus is really showing us a lot of things about our fellow men.
Yes.
People we thought were a certain way are not. And we are getting everyday heroes out of this. People who just are trying their best to live their lives, and they're ending up becoming folk heroes, like Chris Scott here in a little town in the middle of nowhere. Like I said, 500 people. The closest is Red Deer, and he's basically led an entire rebellion on behalf of the entire restaurant industry. And I think his restaurant maybe, if you really packed him in there, seats 20, and he's saving all of the restaurants in the province just by flipping burgers here. And it's revealing things that we are conservative politicians. They're really not all that conservative, are they? That you would, Jason Kenney, there's a lot to be said for how he handled this pandemic. However, he campaigned on being the free enterprise guy. It was a big tent blue party. Even if you were a free enterprise progressive, there was room for you in his conservative party. Well, jailing an entrepreneur in small town Alberta doesn't sound exactly free enterprisey to me. We're learning a lot about Jason Kenney, John Tory, Doug Ford is not as advertised. Even Scott Moe to some extent.
It's really something, and I especially wish the likes of Premier Ford and Mayor Tory would drop this conservative shtick. They're clearly not. And again, to bring it back full circle to Adamson Barbecue, Sheila, this was a so-called conservative mayor, like I said, sending out all the king's horses and all the king's men. And make no mistake, it was to set an example. It was to make an example of Adam Skelly. Mayor Tory's message was for all those other entrepreneurs and restaurateurs and gym operators waiting in the wings, seeing how this would go, that if you dare have the temerity to open up, if you dare try to make a living for yourself and your staff and serve appreciative customers, well, who do you think you are? Walmart? Costco? No, it does not get tolerated. So how do you like the mounted unit on your property? How do you like the 6 o'clock news leading with you being dragged out in handcuffs into a police cruiser? How do you like spending a night in the cooler? You know, it was pure intimidation tactics. And, and what should have happened, I've always argued this, Sheila, is that even with the intimidation, how wonderful would it have been in the Greater Toronto Area if we had an I am Spartacus moment, that every retailer, every entrepreneur stepped forward and said, I'm opening up, I'm opening up, I'm opening up. We wouldn't have had enough jail capacity for all of them, despite what the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is doing by getting violent offenders out of jail so that there's social distancing maintained. In any event, that's what was lacking here in Toronto, the critical mass. But you're getting it in Alberta, and I'm telling you, I bet you people with the Alberta government are just wiping sweat from their brow, going, thank God we're opening this on Monday, because we were going to be looking really bad. We were going to be made to seem like toothless tigers because of this little whistle-stop restaurant.
Well, and I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that this came from small town Alberta. So it's a little different when you're dealing with a detachment that has 6 cops in small town Alberta, and they have an enormous area to cover, and they are really part of that spirit of community policing. They rely on the eyes and the ears of the community to help them along, because there's not a lot of them. And they are your friends, your neighbors. Kids go to school with you, they play on your hockey team. It's a lot different than John Tory's nameless, faceless army of heavy-handed Toronto cops. And I know the cops, they don't like being put in this position in small town Alberta. They are sheepish. They are doing their best to be just, they say, like, look, we're just here collecting evidence on behalf of Alberta Health Services. I mean, the diners in the restaurant know the cops by their first name. It's a lot different than what's happening in Toronto. And because this came from small town Alberta, I think that's how it was able to percolate and create that sort of momentum that was immediately squashed in Toronto.
I think you're 100% right. And in case folks might not know what we're talking about, might have missed your previous reports, I think we have a little excerpt of one of your superb videos in which, well, the Whistle Stop Cafe, folks, it's opening no matter what.
The temperature of the room. What if you end up with contempt of court today? What happens?
Well, then I have to go before a judge, and he's going to ask me why he shouldn't hold me in contempt of court. I'll plead my case and let him decide.
Are you willing to go to jail?
Absolutely.
So court is momentarily for Chris. Are you as nervous as I am?
I am nervous. I am nervous because when you stand for truth, it's a little tough sometimes. But I know that we have the people of Alberta and all over Canada supporting us. So in that, I feel confident.
I think it's a safe bet to say that you're like me. You don't think anybody should go to jail for the crime of just trying to earn an honest living. Do you have a message for Alberta Health Services, because they're the ones who are really pushing for this?
Yes, I do. So my thing is, in a small restaurant business, we can control the way we sanitize, the way we clean. We can control the amount of people that come in. It's a great, safe place. Why can Walmart, Costco, and the other big corporations be open? You can't control this. So my thing is we can, but those places can't. I want that answer today.
Can I ask you guys why you came to the Whistle Stop today?
To support Chris in his fight to reopen businesses.
Stand up for our children's future, really.
Yeah, I guess we come to support him, and he shouldn't be going to jail. Nobody should be going to jail trying to make a living in this country, especially in Alberta. We've been fighting, trying to get gas and oil going, and everything seems to be criminal that everybody does nowadays. So, yeah, we're here to support him. He won't be going to jail. We'll get him out if he does.
I just wanted to come out and just show my support, be another person, just to push back against what the government's doing.
He has the potential of jail time today if they find him in contempt of court. Do you think that the government should be locking up restaurant owners who are just trying to survive?
Are they locking up the Costco workers and the Walmart owners? That's it.
Yeah, no, they should not be. It's not right.
I don't know why the big box stores are exempt from all the rules that the small business owners are being penalized for. It makes no sense and it's not fair.
It's unfortunate we've come this far, really. He's just a restaurant owner, trying to feed the people here, and it's not like people are forced to come here, right? It's people just want to come out here and eat something, and the fact that he might go to jail, it's beyond me, really.
Do you have a message?
I still can't believe what I'm hearing, Sheila. The idea of someone trying to make a living in the food service business. And by the way, in another life, for 7 years, I covered the food service business in trade journals. I can tell you that in the best of times, in a roaring economy, that is the hardest business in which to make a living. You've got high capital costs, operating costs, labor costs. There's so many variables that can go wrong. The one thing I learned about covering the food service business is that I would never get into the food service business. That's not a slight against people in that business. It's a compliment because I don't have what it takes. You've got to be a brilliant businessman and operator to make a go of it in the restaurant business. And here we have this pandemic, all these restrictions. We have these pencil neck geek bylaw officers coming by, the COVID Karens ratting out people. It just infuriates me because all this guy wants to do is make good food and serve customers that want to eat that food. And that's a crime in 2021?
Yeah, it is infuriating. But for me, spending so much time here, I get to see the flip side of it. I get to see the people who are walking through the door, pushing past the cops, saying hi to the cops by name, and going and sitting down and having a coffee and having breakfast, and knowing that they could receive a $1,200 fine for it. There was a rally here in support of Chris on Wednesday while our lawyer was making a very impassioned argument on behalf of Chris in Red Deer Court. There were about 50 or 60 people here. It was minus 31 when I left the house in the morning. And outside for hours in support of Chris. I mean, my equipment was freezing up. I had to run out periodically throughout the day to just start my Jeep so that it would start at the end of the day. It was terrible. And people were out in force. They didn't care. They were said, no, he needs our support and we need to speak truth to power. So while it is frustrating that there are COVID Karens out there, the COVID Karens' voices are really amplified by social media. If you see my videos from here, everybody is normal and it is a cross section of life. There's, yesterday we had people who flew in private helicopters, 3 of them. So that should tell you about their socioeconomic status, that we're coming here to support Chris. We've got older people in suits and people who are coming after church, and then the farmers who are the regulars, and then people who are driving from miles and miles around. They're all coming to support Chris because this really is something that everybody can get around. I was talking about this with Ezra yesterday. What is wrong with our conservative politicians? There's a parade marching. And someone should get in front of it. When you've got the old order Mennonites and the, more orthodox Mennonites and the libertines and the libertarians and the blue collar people, plus the granola people who think crystals cure cancer, they're all marching in the streets together against the lockdown.
Yeah.
These are people who would cross the street so that they don't have to walk past each other on any given day. They're joining in unity against the lockdown. Someone should find a way to mobilize that into a political movement. And yet our conservative politicians who, I think the conservative ethos is leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. They're not getting in front of any of this. It's such a missed opportunity.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, let's not discuss the failure that is already Aaron O'Toole, Sheila. But by the way, did you say minus 31?
It was.
And that's without the wind chill?
Yeah, when I left the house on Wednesday morning, it was minus 31.
By the way, for our American friends that are still on Fahrenheit, just to show you how bad minus 31 is, when the centigrade scale gets down to minus 40, that is the same as minus 40 Fahrenheit, I believe. I think I learned that in school. So, yeah, you don't have to do any kind of new math equations here. No wonder you were starting your Jeep. I'm having a conniption just thinking of the battery packs in my plug-in hybrid, Sheila, if they could survive that.
Anyway, you know what? I just realized we're 26 minutes into the show and we haven't even told anybody what we're doing here.
But it's been all gold, right? But anyways, you fire away our super chats. We owe it all to our generous viewers.
And I could talk about my anti-hunger strike forever because I've eaten so much good food. I was sending every day when I leave, Ezra calls me to ask me what I ate. Like, not how the day went, Sheila, what did you eat today? But we should... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but you're also spending, I believe, an hour on the treadmill even though you don't need to. I mean, it's getting ridiculous, Sheila. So but you're still exercising out there. I guess at home because the gyms are still closed in Alberta too, right?
Right. But I also do a lot of shivering. I shiver off a lot of calories every single day. Now that we are almost halfway through the show, maybe we should the show.
Yes.
This is the Rebel News daily live stream. It started a half an hour ago. And because the pandemic is producing more news than ever and all news is local and it seems to be changing by the minute, we thought, hey, why not extend our once weekly live stream to 5 work days a week. So Ezra normally hosts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This week, he's been busy on some very special projects, very exciting. David and I normally host Tuesdays and Thursdays. Unless I'm off gallivanting, then sometimes Andrew subs in, which is very helpful, and some of the other on-air talent. Although I don't like the word talent. We're on-air faces. Anyway, this is a chance for our viewers to interact with each other in the live chat, which is always really lively. David and I get a chance to interact with each other, which is fun. And it also gives our viewers a chance to support the work that we do completely willingly, unlike what Justin Trudeau makes you do. And that is support the mainstream media against your will through subsidies and bailout dollars. So you can do something called a super chat. If you go to the bottom of the live chat, there's a little $sign there. Click on it. The more money you throw in the pot, the more characters you get, and you can ask us a question. You can leave us a comment. You can change the topic, give us a tip, whatever you want. It's really your show if you want to wrestle it away from David and I, because we've gone on for half an hour here about Freedom Burgers. Anyways, I should get to the first of these super chat.
Go ahead.
Okay. Perfect. Mark gives us $2 and says, is there another rally in Red Deer? I'm sorry, I don't know. There was one on Wednesday at the courthouse in support of. He does have another court date. I'm not quite sure the date. I think it's in the 3rd or 4th week of February here, because the injunction that Alberta Health Services got against Chris was just an emergency injunction. And so they will have a full hearing of the facts later on. Might be moot, but I think it's important that if they are going to shut us down again, it would be worth it to pursue arguing Chris's case in court.
I can tell you, for those in the GTA area, Sheila, there will be another anti-lockdown rally tomorrow around noon. It won't be happening at Tiananmen Square. I mean, Young Dundas Square. It'll be at Queen's Park. So there you go.
And I do know every Saturday in Red Deer, they do have an anti-lockdown protest right in front of City Hall there downtown. I think it's on 50th Street. Georgie gives us $5. Hey, guys, what are your Super Bowl picks? By the way, Sheila, I'm jealous of all the hamburgers. You should be jealous. You should be. I ate something called a zombie burger yesterday. It was 4 patties, 3 pieces of cheese, 2 huge onion rings, 4 pieces of bacon, and I'm sure I'm missing something, but it was a lot. Oh, and a hot dog, a filleted hot dog on it. Chris has to be careful because when he's putting these things together, if you're not careful, you can conjure a demon. That serious burgers. David, I don't have a Super Bowl pick. What's yours?
In all my life, Sheila, I have never felt more confident that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win this Super Bowl and cover the spread of, I think it's up to 3.5 right now. I have never had a more confident feeling. The tragedy is last week I lost my MasterCard. It's a President's Choice MasterCard, which allows me to bet offshore, so I can't access my bet. So I've been going around to all the ham and eggers at the office, like Mr. Producer Justin, that's putting $30 on Tampa. That's a big deal for him. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me and make a bet off air, Mr. Producer, it's not an illegal bet. It is because otherwise, why would President's Choice MasterCard facilitate that bet? By the way, that's why I got the card, Sheila, because other credit cards, wouldn't allow it. But anyways, I really feel for that. Despite the fact, here's a little interesting piece of trivia in the 55-year history of the Super Bowl. It has never been played at the stadium, which is the home team, the home stadium rather, for one of the teams involved, because it is being played in Tampa. And the perverse irony is it'll be limited admission. They won't be able to pack the joint because of COVID, of course, and social distancing. But Sheila, I want to go off on another tangent here. There will be thousands and thousands of people in that stadium on Sunday. And isn't it funny that I can tell you here in Ontario, if you have a church that can seat 1,200 people, you are allowed to have 10 people in the church. Even though you could have, I would suggest, 600 people and, adequately social distance with that number. What kind of a moron in charge of these rules bases seating capacity on a hard number as opposed to a percentage of seats in the facility? Because obviously the NFL figured it out. They can get thousands of people in that stadium. But like I said, if it's a really big church, you're limited to 10 people. If it's a little teeny tiny church, you're limited to 10 people. Does that make sense to you?
No. I mean, I'll give a personal example. For my mom's funeral at the time, now the government has changed the rules because I think they realized how dumb it was. But for my mom's funeral, we're Catholic, so it's a funeral mass. It's a mass, just like any other service, except there's a funeral shoehorned in the middle of it. For my mom's funeral in our Catholic megachurch, I think it seats 800. For funeral mass at 11 a.m., we could only have 10 people.
That makes no sense.
We had to cast lots like Roman soldiers over Jesus's robes to decide who gets to be in the funeral. And later on, 5 o'clock, very same day, probably even the same priest, Father Jim, could say mass to 15% capacity of the church. It doesn't make any sense. What's the difference? It's literally the same service when you're Catholic. However, those were just the rules that the government handed down. Funerals get 10 people and church gets 15%, even though it's the same building, sometimes even the same people.
Here's an idea for Father Jim and any other clergy. Why not do the mass at a Costco? You'll be speaking to hundreds of people. Really, just get up on a little apple crate with a megahorn, and suddenly your flock increases to a magnitude of 100 or 150, and yet that's not a super spreader event because I guess the Wuhan virus, it hates people of faith, but it really likes consumerism in big box stores.
It's very smart. It's very, very smart. It doesn't go on the toys in Walmart, but it'll jump on the toys in in little small town mom and pop stores.
Yeah.
It's very, very smart. Smartest virus that ever lived.
Unbelievable.
Let's keep going. Mark gives us $2, says, "Let my people grill." Alberta strong. It's true. I saw a sign that was in Red Deer that said, "Let my people grill." Zoom Truth gives us $20. Mac Pahar from Vancouver is facing jail time over not quarantining after returning from a trip to the U.S. Will you help him? Google his name. Why is he not being helped? Well, we can't help everybody. However, we try to help as many people as we can, especially those who do reach out to us through fightthefines.com. I recognize the name, and I think maybe Drea has reached out to him. And if not, I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can follow up. But I mean, if you have a lockdown ticket, send it to us at fightthefines.com. There's a brief little intake form that you have to fill out. We'll put you in the pipeline and we'll help you fight that ticket at no cost to you. Just plead not guilty. Go to fightthefines.com and send us your ticket. And if you're someone who hasn't received a lockdown ticket, but you want to help those people who have, like Chris here at the Whistle Stop, fighting the entire government, you can donate at that same website, fightthefines.com. Timothy Powell gives us £10 and a para-character bowing down saying thank you. Well, thank you, Timothy. Michael gives us $5. Hi, guys. Where is Ezra? Hasn't been around all week. I really miss his perspective, and I'll cancel my subscription if much longer. We've said it from the beginning of the week that Ezra is working on a special project this week. However, Ezra has been the guest on his own show every single day this week. So if you want your Ezra fill, you can still get it on the Ezra Levant show every single night. So while we have been guest hosting in the monologue, he's been the guest on his own show. And so good luck trying to get a word in edgewise as the host when Ezra's guesting on his own show. So yeah, if you are out there and you want to subscribe to the Ezra Levant show and my show, The Gunn Show, and David Menzies' fun Friday night show, Rebel Roundup, and now Andrew Chapados' new show, we threw Andrew's show in there at the same price as before. You can go to rebelnews.com/subscribe to become a member of Rebel News Plus.
And I just want to say to that viewer, Sheila, that I'm so dreadfully sorry we've been churning out such dreck. And I will personally refund your premium subscription for the month of February, $8 if you pass along your coordinates. But Ezra will be back on Monday.
No, David, I thought we were doing a good job, but I guess we're not.
Tough crowd out there.
Oh, you know what, though? There's somebody for everybody. Some people really love David. Some people like me. Some people are Kean super fans. Ezra's got his people too, and I understand. Let's keep going. Marilyn Walls gives us $5. This is bigger than burgers at the Whistle Stop. Yes, thank you. The world is watching Alberta take on the government. We're waiting for a win. I think you're going to see it. We're in a staring contest. The government, the conservative government here, does not want to have a political prisoner on their hands, and so they're ragging the puck. Chris isn't blinking, and the government thought he would blink. I think they thought when they got that emergency injunction that he would shut down, and he spent the whole day on the grill. He didn't care. Believe in Jesus gives us $5. AHS is promoting businesses to stop people even with medical mask exemptions. I was refused service at my local post office in small town Alberta. You might have to file a human rights complaint about that. That's the thing with this stuff. So if you don't wear a mask, you can get a ticket, and that ends up in the regular court system. But if you're denied service because you're medically exempt, you have to go to the trouble of filing a human rights complaint through a quasi-judicial tribunal process and not through the regular legal process. It's two things that end up in two different pipelines. And in the case of the Human Rights Tribunal, all the legwork is yours.
Yeah.
Isn't that convenient? Kane Enmark gives us $5. I went to the Whistle Stop 2 times now. I was driving for freedom. It's 2 hours drive one way from Calgary Northwest. Sheila is the best. Shout out to Justin. There we go. Yeah, it's like an hour and 45-minute drive for me, and the roads are atrocious today. It's like snowing, just snowing. Pat 180 gives us $20 starting Monday, February 8th. The beer store in Ontario will not serve customers who aren't wearing masks. I'm sick of living this way. Oh, but the beer store is an essential service. Are they denying you an essential service? This is shocking to me.
Unbelievable. I'm sure I know where the next fight the fines case is going to come from.
Fight for beer freedom. And you guys have government beer stores there, so you're literally fighting the government.
It's funny. The LCBO does beer, wine, and spirits. That's government owned. The beer store used to be owned by Canadian breweries that have now been mainly Molson and Labatt that are now absorbed by big multinational breweries, Sheila, and they have like a quasi-monopoly on beer, and yet they're not even Canadian companies. I mean, it's so perverse given what happened in the 90s in Alberta. You brought liquor freedom. But that's the way monopolies go. And you know what? I got a real burr under my saddle from what Mr. Producer said when we were talking about the Super Bowl. Oh, great. You're promoting illegal betting sites like bet365.com, which is based in the UK. I don't think it's black market. Maybe it's gray market. But I am begging law enforcement, now that you know I have an account with them, granted it's down to $11, but I do have an account with them. And here's the situation we are in as Canadians, Sheila, when it comes to betting on the Super Bowl. In Ontario, it's the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation that runs sports betting. Why an agency of the government is in the sports betting business is absolutely perverse. But more to the point, I can't bet going through the OLG on the Super Bowl. It has to, by law, be a parlay, right? You have to pick multiple teams. You can't bet on just one, which makes it exponentially more difficult to win. And another observation I've had dealing with OLG and bet365.com, and this is all you need to know about private sector and public sector. When I deal with the customer service people at OLG, even when they've made a mistake, and they make many, the attitude, the rudeness I get from these jerks is off the scale. Sheila, when I phone the toll-free number at Bet365, it's unbelievable. I get a posh British accent. Yes. Hello, Mr. Menzies. What is the issue today? And they are so accommodating. They want your business. And again, I can understand the government taxing lottery and regulating lottery, but to be in the lottery business and then you can't even make a single bet on the Super Bowl? Give me a break.
I find that shocking. I find it crazy. I don't even gamble, and I find that crazy. Like I maybe a scratch and win ticket, maybe once a year. One time I played the VLTs, the only time I ever played them. I won $20. I cashed out. I never played again. I figure I'm up. I should just stay that way.
That's the best strategy.
Let's keep going. Mark, $5. Mark gives us $5, says, which Albertan gym owner will step up now? I can't afford personal training. Neither can most gyms. There's a couple. I did a couple I Will Opens with Alberta-based gyms and more personal trainers, I guess. But the personal trainers are being hurt because they want to do like large service classes in the major gyms. And because the major gyms are closed, they have to rely on in-person, one-on-one personal training. And they say it's just, if you're not a celebrity personal trainer, you can't make money that way.
Well, Sheila, I've got a little teaser for a video that's coming up. I think it's either today or tomorrow.
No, you're not taking a video of you working in the office gym, please.
No. It's nothing to do with the office gym. And by the way, thank God we have an employer like Ezra Levent who invested into an office gym. And incidentally, for those who have with the benefit of flash photography, I will now hold this pose for 2 seconds. Thank you. Now, what I was getting at, Sheila, there's a fellow who is legally entitled to operate. It's a food store called J&W Foods in Scarborough. That's east end of Toronto. And he's being basically the story peg is this. He's being harassed by bylaw for following the bylaw, which is if you have a medical exemption, he doesn't hassle you if you don't wear a mask. Can you believe it? He is getting threatened and hassled for following the bylaw. But anyways, he's not going away. He's not bending the knee. Because of this damn pandemic, the strip plaza he's in has had casualties. The unit next door is a mattress store that went out of business. And he's going to take over that lease and make a gym, I guess, because he's all about wellness and fitness too, as well as delicious edibles. That's J&W Foods, folks. And he's going to open a gym. And we're going to have to see how that one plays out. I can't wait. I'm going to buy a membership the day he opens.
That's great. They've been sending me videos of you working out, by the way.
Do you know, High Energy Andrew says, put a couple of 45-pound plates on the bar and said, I'll bet you $10 you can't lift that. I did 10 reps in my suit. So, by the way, Sheila, I think that means 10 times 10. That's 100 he owes me. I still don't even have the $10. That's the kind of nickel and dimer ham and eggers I'm dealing with at the office. But anyways, if High Energy Andrew says can get into his wallet and avoid getting his pinky caught in the mouse trap that's set in there, I'd like my $10 at least, please.
Well, Ivan Hall gives you $6.99 and says, he says, thanks again for being here for others that need it. Much love at everyone. Things will be better sooner than later. Hold on. I don't know. Things are going to be better if we just take control and make it better. Like Chris Scott here. You know, the government's not going to save you. You got to save yourself.
Yeah.
And there's a fight to be had, but I think freedom's worth it. Gary the Gargoyle gives us $10. Calories be damned. This is a food fight for freedom. Yes. Release the Kraken burger and let it eat the elite.
I love that. I wonder if anyone has a Kraken burger on the menu. By the way, why is it called a zombie burger, that outrageous thing that you ate at the Whistle Stop?
I don't know. I posted in the Slack channel, I think, for work, what the people from Blades to Fades ate. So Blades to Fades, that's the barbershop owned by Ralph Klein's niece, Natalie.
Oh, yes.
And they've been coming frequently. I'm actually wearing one of their hoodies today. But they've been coming frequently to the Whistle Stop out of Red Deer or out of Innisfail, I guess, to support them. And they ate something called a heart attack yesterday. And it was like, had couple grilled cheeses on it, and then burgers, bacon, I think there was chicken strips in there, onion rings, lots of cheese. The thing was like 12 or 14 inches tall and it had a big steak through it. And that was the heart attack burger. Maybe Justin can find it. It was, if they're still alive today, well, God bless.
Justin wants to know if there are any vegan alternatives at the cafe.
This is Mirror, Alberta. You'll die if you're a vegan here. You'll die. It's too cold. You need the calories. You need the animal proteins. It's currently snowing again. No, you cannot survive as a vegan here. You just can't. Sorry. There's none of them because they all died a long time ago. Okay, let's keep going. Pink Phoenix Nails, that's Catherine. Oh, that's my burger.
Wow.
That's the zombie burger.
That reminds me of the old Burger King jingle. It takes two hands to handle a Whopper. I think this needs 3 hands, actually, Sheila.
I ate maybe an eighth of that. It was so big. I did eat the fries, though. They were delicious. Those hand-cut homemade fries with, it's just delicious. And the gravy is amazing. Pink Phoenix Nails is Catherine. She was one of our I Will Opens who had a very successful return to business, I think, because of all the support she received through iwillopen.com. Good morning, Sheila and David. Shout out to Justin and the off-air talent. There we go. Andrew gives us $2. And he says, Justin, can we play a video of Menzoid working out? No. Nope.
No, don't actually.
No, don't. Nathan gives us $2 and says he's pro Gunn Reid. Well, so am I. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Jack R gives us $5. Why can I not find any YouTube videos on the Calgary anti-lockdown marches? I've done dozens. I covered it. I probably went to 6 or 7 of those marches straight. Or Pastor Archer vids anymore. Look at fightthefines.com. You'll find Pastor Archer there. has YouTube banned these videos recently. They might be sort of hiding them in the search algorithm, but if you go to fightthefines.com, you'll find them there. Because when I was covering the Calgary anti-lockdown marches, people were coming up to me with their tickets saying, I've got a ticket. So they ended up as part of the lockdown story.
Isn't it so heartwarming, Sheila, that the Silicon Valley tech giants are deciding for the entire planet what is and is appropriate videos, and even if by the grace of God they leave them up, they'll make you search for them really hard in order to find them. Isn't it great that we have these guardians of truth and virtue?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking about our friend Kathy Sheila.
Oh, yeah.
And she was an early adopter of the internet and blogging, because it was a place where conservatives could go to debate good or bad ideas and have their say. And so the conservative blogosphere for the longest time was very robust. And then it wasn't all of a sudden, because Donald Trump won and he used the internet and social media to do it. And here we are now. And I think, again, one of Trump's greatest failings was not doing something about it when he could.
And you know what, Sheila, it was a matter of bait and switch, too. I mean, when we go back to yesteryear, I think the very first time I heard the word Facebook, it was in 2007. And then, of course, Twitter came later. And nobody knew what these were. They were tiny little startup companies. And the pitch was, hey, everybody, no matter what what opinions you have, what your politics are, come one, come all. We're the big tent. We love you all.
Yep.
This is the Wild West of freedom of expression. And then the likes of Twitter and Facebook got to a critical mass. And then what they said is, we don't like this, and that in terms of speech. Be gone. So they reached out to contributors who were giving their content, Sheila, this is very, important, for free content to build up these social media empires. And then once they achieved the critical mass, they became censorious thugs, only wanting the kind of free speech that appeals to them. That is the disgrace of so many of these platforms.
Well, and when you think about the time and effort that contributors have put into building their social media presence, time and effort that could have been put somewhere else, but they were, like you say, guaranteed a spot in the public square. And then that's all gone. Along goes all that content too. There's no backups. It's just gone. It's gone forever. So you've plugged everything in to this one thing until the one thing decides, you're a little bit too spicy, you're gone. And it's like you never existed.
Yeah, and then, Sheila, they reach out to competitors like Parler. We don't like what they are doing. We want them delisted. Do you know right now, in the TV universe, Sheila, CNN is lobbying cable carriers, telling them to deplatform Fox. Just get rid of them. There's too much right-wing baggage with that. This is astonishing. So it's not just a matter of being master in their own house. They're telling other houses, be gone. We don't like your opinion. The fact that this is happening in the 21st century in a country with the First Amendment, I have never seen free speech more under attack than it is right now, Sheila.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that the mainstream media does to us when they get together and decide that we cannot participate in press conferences. So our competitors ban us and prevent us from access to the government, to hold the government to account. They maintain their monopoly, and that's what they're trying to do in the United States. They're trying to get rid of Fox, which is the most popular cable news channel. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just nuke them and then CNN, the airports and doctor's office channel? I mean, they could get a few more ratings, I guess, when they disappear the competitor.
And then those mainstream media outlets here in Canada who denounce us and won't go to bat for us and show no solidarity with us, when it's a big story, they'll rip off a photo or even a video in one of our videos and not even give credit, not even give attribution from where it came from.
Yeah.
They want it both ways, Sheila.
Yeah. The Wuhan Virology Institute. That they stole that story from me days after I broke it and just pretended like I didn't do it at all. Like they didn't get the information from me.
And then there was the poppy story Kean did out of Manitoba. I believe they ripped off that photo. So yeah, it's anyways, I think we have more super chats.
We do have a lot, and we're 4 minutes left in the show, and we talked about literally one thing again. Let's go. John T. Singus gives us $2. David, congrats for the great photo finishing. LMAO. That is.
Oh yeah, that was about. I think that's when I was with Tamara Ugolini a couple of days ago hosting the show. Who is quite now visibly pregnant, and I was putting out a note to all men that always absolutely make sure ahead of time to ask to find out if the lady is pregnant before you inquire about the pregnancy. And it was a story about when I worked at McLean Hunter, we used to do our photo finishing at Japan Camera at the McLean Hunter building. And there was a very nice lady that I always dealt with, and she went away for like 7 months. I never saw her. And then she came back, and I looked at her, and judging by the visuals, she looked like 8 months pregnant. So I said, "Hey, Mary, congratulations." And she went, "For what?" Right? And then I realized it wasn't a Bambino. It was like too many zombie burgers in there. And Sheila, for the first time in my life, I thought fast and quickly enough to get out of a real embarrassing jam. I picked up the photos and I went, "Congratulations on this excellent photo finishing." So I skated on that one, my dear.
Yeah, no. If anybody sees me out there in the world, it's too many zombie burgers. So, little Gunn Reid on the way. It's grease. It's grease. That's all it is. Justin Beaver gives us $10. Did you see a group of freedom fighters are instructing and helping people just walk out of the quarantine hotel in Calgary, and police are just backing down? Why isn't everyone doing this? I think he uncovered a spontaneous protest down there. He was down there just doing a story, and as it turns out, people were protesting. So I think they're following the Chris Sky model of just call an Uber and get out of there.
Oh, Sheila, you might not have heard about this, but late afternoon, we were at the Radisson on Dixon Road here in the airport area, and we had no idea there was a protest about to emerge. 8 police vehicles showed up, including, I didn't know that Toronto police had this in their fleet, an undercover Ford F-250 Super Duty pickup truck. And
why is that unusual? We have those all over the place here.
Yeah, but here in the asphalt jungle of Toronto, I think maybe this is one of the vehicles they pull the mounted unit horse trailers with. I mean, why else would you need a truck of that size? And you'll see it, folks. I was threatened with arrest for trespassing. They actually took out the book. They actually threatened they were going to take me away. I only gave them my name and my and Rebel News. They wanted my birth date. They wanted ID. I said no. Another little stare off, and they let me skate. But they were more interested again in shutting down the practice of journalism. And I was on a street. I wasn't on the hotel property. They were more interested in shutting down the practice of journalism, like they tried to do at Yonge Dundas Square for a few weeks in a row. And I guess the Toronto police they're not getting the lesson that, believe it or not, guys, we still have freedom of the press. So those people were there, and it was so cool, Sheila. They had megahorns saying, "Please come out," and there was guys with signs saying, "I will drive you home."
That's so great.
Oh, it was wonderful.
That's great. I love that. Dirty Pretty Me gives us $20. Says, "Hey guys, I've been calling and leaving messages at my local salons in Southern Ontario asking for an appointment on February 11th. Today I got a call back and appointment. Call your locals and let them know you will support them." Are you guys still not getting haircuts there? Is that?
Oh, 100%, Sheila. And February 11th, that's next Thursday, there's I believe this is a Hugs Over Mask an initiative by Vlad. It's urging every business, no matter what you're in, to open up. And I met a lady who has a gym in the Georgina area, which is north of Newmarket here in the GTA. She's going to be opening that day. So we're definitely going to find a few of these businesses to cover, and we're going to find out if they're allowed to open in peace or if the authorities are going to do the Adam Skelly routine on them. Oh, Sheila's got that look in her eyes.
Did I freeze up?
Oh, I think you did. You quite literally froze up.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, went to look out my window to see if the cops had come because CMP have been coming and going all the time, but it snowed over. So it doesn't matter. Okay, let's get through these. Bridget Rugman gives us $5. All pigs are equal, just some pigs are more equal than other pigs. Hashtag Tory and Trudeau.
I think that's from Animal Farm, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah. Chris Lynch gives us $10. Got evidence of political opinion being taught to 7-year-olds in school here in Canada. I don't think you have to look very far to find that evidence. Teaching Trump bad and incites violence. Also, Facebook asked me for photo ID to log into my account. Is this normal? I don't know. That's weird. Anne Schumann Srivastava. I'm very sorry if I said that wrong. Gives us $5. You guys fight the fines for the common man. We need to launch a constitutional challenge. Government thugs are not backing down. The Great Reset fast approaches. Might I suggest you look at opensaskatchewan.com. We've launched a constitutional challenge to the lockdown in Saskatchewan. We're trying to set the most, I think probably the most everyman province free of government tyranny.
Oh, 100%, Sheila.
Bilbo Evans gives us £5. Hi, all from South Wales, UK.
Wow.
May I ask you both what you think about the UK lockdown? Please stay safe in your minus 30 degrees, Sheila. We've got a reporter in the UK who, Benjamin Lockney, is that how I say it?
I think so.
Justin?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's one of those English words that is not spelled the way that you say it, like Worcestershire. Anyways, he's been doing some great work helping fight the fines and telling the stories of the lockdown in the UK and covering some of the protests there.
Well, by the way, Sheila, what I find chilling about the UK example is that even before the pandemic, I understand, I think it's the London police, I hope I have the numbers right, it's something like there's 1,200 officers monitoring, social media, looking for thought crimes, and then showing up in the wee hours of the morning to make the arrests. We've chronicled this before. You talk about Orwellian. Wow.
They've been showing up and confiscating garden trowels from grandmas and then posting pictures of it to social media, bragging about how they're keeping the community safe by taking the knitting needles off your Aunt Mavis. Let's see. MEC gives us $2. You are all a fabulous team. Thank you. Noble Canadian gives us $5. Thoughts on Maxime Bernier, Randy Hilliard, Derek Sloan to form a nonpartisan organization calling for an end to lockdowns, the End the Lockdown Caucus. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
It gets my vote.
Yeah, and more politicians have to do it. In Alberta, really, we have in the provincial government one anti-lockdown politician, and that's Drew Barnes from Southern Alberta. And he's sort of a renegade, and every day that he is not kicked out of Jason Kenney's caucus is a miracle.
Wow.
Because he's very outspoken. He's I wouldn't say he's necessarily pro-sovereignty, but he's pro-let's have a talk about it. And he's very vocal about it. And I think he's going to get booted any day.
He wouldn't last a day in the Doug Ford caucus, Sheila.
Well, they've left him alone for a while now, so let's see if it keeps going. But I would love to see Drew Barnes, if you're watching, I'd love to see you join that End the Lockdowns caucus. Mark, $5. AHS is paying 5 people to guard the hospital's entrance against sick people. Yeah, I've experienced this firsthand. How does our healthcare system have funds for that and endless tests? That's another thing. They are using some very expensive tests. I think they're like $150 for a test. We've tested, I think, over 2 million people, or 2 million tests here in Alberta. There's us, That's a lot of money. Canada Rye gives us $10. Thank you, Rebel News. We Canadians appreciate and support you. Pamela Poloski gives us $5. I don't see a super chat. Thank you very much. Natalie LaPena gives us $5. Sheila and David, you guys are my favorite. Well, there's a super chatter from earlier who doesn't feel the same way you do, so I appreciate that. And have been keeping me sane during all of this. I look forward to your live shows. Thank you very much.
Oh, good. Thank goodness I don't have to give another $8 refund.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Punko gives us $10. My youngest needs boots. Went to Walmart yesterday to ask, and they confirmed they are not essential. Oh, are you in Manitoba or somewhere where they have all the non-essential things roped off? That's crazy.
Was that a Walmart in, I don't know, the Bahamas? I mean, like, what the heck? I'm assuming this is a Canadian Walmart in February, right?
Good thing starting Monday, they're reopening stores in Quebec. So she must be in Quebec.
Oh.
Ended up buying candies because candies are essential and winter boots are not. Oh, gosh, Quebec.
Well, of course, you get some chocolate bars and you get some hockey tape and you wrap them around the kids' feet, and there you go.
Empty calories help you when you're shivering. This is what I know. I learned that this last week.
It's science, Sheila.
Yeah. Energy in, energy out. Richard Sherman gives us $5. I've been looking for rallies to go to, but can never find locations, not on Facebook or Twitter. Could you guys post rallies coming up? Normally I don't, because I don't want to give the perception that I'm endorsing anything or not endorsing anything. I try to cover things journalistically. In Toronto, it's constant. David's there on, is it Saturdays, David?
Saturday noon at Queen's Park for tomorrow's protest, rather. Yeah.
And in Calgary, it's Saturday and Sunday. In most of the larger centers in Alberta, it's Saturday. And it's usually right in front of the municipal office or the legislature or the town hall.
Yeah, like Sheila said, folks, I mean, we're not like facilitators of these protests. Our job is to cover them. But having said that, I assume a few keywords in a Google search, you're going to find that information.
Yeah, and I think most of these are organizing on Facebook too. So I think if you go to put an end to the lockdown, and you'll probably come up with one for every locality. Kurt Koenig gives us $10. David, tell Sheila she does not have to start her car in cold weather periodically to keep it warm. She's so hot, she just has to sit in it for a second. Oh. Mr. Producer, can David say that? Too bad.
Mercy me. I bet you say that to all the girls, Rhett Butler.
Oh,
I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole, Sheila, and I'm 11 feet away, okay?
Yeah. No, the heated seats are keeping me alive. Terry Wolf, by the way, thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that. Every compliment helps after you get into your fourth decade.
See,
Terry Wolf.
That's what I love about Sheila Gunn Reid, folks. A guy gives her a compliment and she says thank you. If Sheila Gunn Reid were working at the CBC, it would be a human rights tribunal sexual harassment complaint. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that. Yeah, don't be too anxious, Justin. You know, anytime we veer off the reservation like that, Justin's like behind the booth, like, going crazy. So settle down. Your Chick-fil-A is on the way. Okay, go ahead.
I just imagine Justin miming desperately through the window there. Terry Wolf gives us $6.99. Have any of the cases in your Fight the Fines program been brought to court as of yet? We've had some cases thrown out. Walter Matheson in New Brunswick is one of the great ones.
The best.
They tossed that. We've had some of Artur Pawlowski. He's the Calgary pastor who feeds the homeless. Some of his fines have been thrown out already. So we've had some successes. You can, if you look at fightthefines.com, we try to cover the successes as they come in. Olga Jenny gives us $5. Yep, they'll delete your content, but they'll keep and sell your data. Yeah, exactly. RH Photo Canadian gives us $5. RH Photo Canadian gives us $5. Have you investigated this, the Great Reset, several times? Very, very many times. Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. Fraser McBurney. Hi, Fraser. Should be an interesting weekend. I wonder how many tickets they'll hand out in Toronto and Hamilton. In Hamilton, we have a surprise for them. We're all bringing shopping bags and waiting at the bus stop. That's fun. Very smart, Fraser. The great douchebag gives us $2. Joe Biden. I know. Joe Biden henpecked his way up a rooster's butt. The Noble Fox. Is that you, Carlos? I'm sorry it took so long to get around to the super chat. If that's the Noble Fox that I think it is, that's Carlos. And he is a restaurant just up the road here, up the road from Mirror in Bashaw. And he reopened his restaurant. And it was really the Alberta Health Service. Did I freeze?
A little bit.
Okay. Anyway, when the cops showed up to give him a ticket or to investigate, and Alberta Health Services showed up and they said, "Oh, we need to investigate. We hear that you're open and you're seating customers." And Carlos is like, "Yeah, you can just look through the window. Like, they're all in there. It's fine." They wanted to come in and he's like, "No, you're not coming in. It's fine." So Carlos is one of those brave restaurants that is standing in solidarity with what Chris is doing here. And Carlos is great. He's got a great story. He's from El Salvador. He chose Alberta as the place to raise his family and do his business. The Bashaw loves Carlos. I think the feeling's mutual. And I'm just so happy that we're able to help Carlos because they did give him a summons to appear too. And so he's one of our Fight the Fines cases. The great douchebag, again, gives us $2. Trudeau used a broom to enter the sweepstakes. Very funny. Knox Bates family gives us $19.99. We customize raw energy of quantum computing crossed into the parallel dimension of fungus spores, gelatinous cubes wrapped in wires, bee venom.
Wow, it kind of sounds like a storyboard for a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
Put your phasers on fun, Sheila Gunn, Reid. See what I did there?
Phasers fun. Ian McKnight gives us $5. Saskatoon City Council wants to buy an abandoned store for $1.3 million to build a 30-foot sidewalk. Well, that sounds exactly like something a municipal government would do with your tax dollars. They're the worst. And that's why we need more conservatives in municipal politics.
I want to find out the nitty-gritty of that story, Sheila. That just sounds off the charts insane, but I'll look it up.
Ian, can you, if you have information on that, can you send that to me at tips@rebelnews.com? I would love to see what 30 feet of sidewalk for $1.3 million looks like. That's a lot. Wayne Allen gives us $20. I don't see a super chat. Matt Kircher gives us $5. When are you starting up that conservative dating app you were talking about months ago? You know what? We have a very committed Rebel supporter who has already like a dating service. And I wonder if he's the guy to talk to. But yeah, I'm still screening applicants for Yankee. I'm very picky. I'm probably more picky than Yankee's own mother would be. But anyways, if you have someone that you would like to fix up with Yankee, or if you feel like you think that Yankee's the guy for you, again, just Sheila@rebelnews.com. I'm taking submissions. Send a headshot.
Do we have a headshot of Yankee we can show so that people know what they're getting into? No. Okay, there we go. Uh-oh.
Was it not?
Either
rolling my eyes at you. I froze up and I was rolling my eyes. Peter Fudge gives us $5. You folks are awesome. Someday the Order of Canada might be on the way. Oh, no. No.
Never. Hey, listen, how could we accept such a thing, Sheila, when the ultimate snub vis-a-vis the Order of Canada is Don Cherry?
Yeah. And they didn't give it to Ralph Klein until he was too sick to, appreciate the fact that he had received it. I mean, it's just, they don't give it. It's not the Order of Canada. It's the Order of Laurentia. Yeah. And then Canada is just another thing.
Good one.
Yeah. Kurt Koenig gives us $5. David, that was for you to tell her. By the way, it was not a compliment. It's just honesty. Well, David can't read the super chats because he can't operate his phone or the computer and talk to the camera. So, and that's just, it's a constant battle of boomers versus technology here with David. And I say that lovingly. Strawberry Roan Dragon. You guys ever hear about Event 201? Yes, we talked about it once on the show here before. Tabletop COVID pandemic simulation held by Bill Gates in October 2019. Yeah, we talked about it briefly on the show before. It had come up as a super chat, I think. And I think we are 15 minutes. Oh, there's one more. Okay, Mark gives us $5. I wonder how many of my tax dollars are going towards Red Deer City Council to debate municipal mask mandates while a provincial one still exists. Lots. Those municipal politicians, they're working less than ever, but getting paid more than ever. And I think that is it. And we are 60 minutes past the hour.
Well, there you go, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. A special thank you to the Super Chatters. So on the behalf of Justin, Sheila, the She-Devil, Gunn, Reid, I'm David Menzies. If you want to make some money this Sunday, put it on the Chiefs. In the meantime, stay sane.